Definitely, layout to me was really important to this book, so I tried to have quite a minimal feel to the whole book, so quite quiet, as if you're really there, you can hear the snow crunching underneath their feet. So I employed quite a few different storytelling techniques, so some will be visual lists like this one, which you see quite a lot throughout the book because there's a lot of information, so crew, dogs, the equipment was all told through visual lists, whereas other things, like you say, I could employ maps as well to show the passage of time, and also there'd be double page spreads as well to bring drama back into the book, but then I'd kind of jump back into using little panels, like you say, to show a ship perhaps breaking the ice without having to write it. So one of my main ambitions making this was as little text as possible, so I didn't want to have too much text, and me being not a very good reader is probably the reason for that. So here you can see all these little vignettes or cut to whites. They help tell the story without influencing the text too much as well, so they kind of, hopefully there's a nice balance there. So yeah, lots of different storytelling techniques I try to use. Visual lists were really handy for this book. So you can see here, this is the page of the equipment and all the supplies they took on the journey. I just, rather than writing them and long-windedly explaining everything, I just draw it all as it was. So there are 3 lifeboats and probably approximately this many sleds, things like that. And so rather than write it, I would draw it. But you can see here, this is all the little compositions I'd do for, this is the crew, so the crew spread. And then we go into the more detail of all the visual lists, what items they would take, and how I might lay that out. So that took quite a while to do. You can see here, this is a dummy book, and it actually looked a little bit different in the dummy book. So this is the original spread for the equipment and the crew, so it's laid out slightly differently to the book. So it changed when I went back into my sketchbook for the final thing. Yeah, most of the sketches were quite fun to do because I could just draw them like I would in a sketchbook and then just scan them and then move them around in Photoshop where I wanted them to go. There's quite a lot of research to find those kind of details out, but mostly through books like in this one here, and they'd list, you know, in what lifeboat how much things they would take with them, the amount of coal, food, rations, that kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah, so all the information for the months passing while they were here is quite standard. It tells you how long, how much food they had left, what their plans were. But then I tried to tell more of a rounded narrative through the pictures. So you've got men exercising the dogs, which isn't told in the text, but it's something that did happen, things like that. And there's quite a few incidents where men were getting pulled along because the dogs were chasing penguins and things like that. So I tried to include those in the illustrations around the book. Things like Shackleton was always very good at looking after his men and bringing them tea in the morning and keeping their spirits up. So you can see here, that's a detail that I decided to show through an illustration rather than writing it. The stove was an invention by the photographer Frank Hurley. He was a really clever handyman, so he could build all sorts of kinds of things, as well as being a photographer. So that's a little illustration of Hurley and Shackleton cooking some food. So this is the original right here. You can see it hasn't really changed that much from the way it turned out in the book. I've just moved things around a little bit. So that's quite a fun one to do. Just like I said before, I'd just sketch it like I would in a sketchbook and then worry about the composition afterwards. I tried to keep it quite evenly spaced. This was actually going to be a silent spread, so no text on there. It was just going to show the events of time passing. But in the end, I needed some text to carry the narrative forward.